Hey everyone, it's Jen Obermeyer. Today is Sunday, March 15th, and it's 2020. The hot topic on everyone's mind at the moment is the coronavirus, and we're seeing various quarantining procedures going into effect across the United States and, of course, across the world already as of today. So I wanted to share a quick bonus episode, which is my answer to a question that I think a lot of organizers are wondering about right now. And the question is, I'm wondering if I'm being irresponsible by continuing to work with my clients. I'm not sick, and my clients that I'm seeing are not sick. Everyone I know, however, is not working or working from home. Like in my province or state, they are asking people to stay home if they can. So really, if you're in a voluntary self-quarantining situation right now, I know that you have probably wondered this. So there's going to be a lot of strong opinions on the answer to this. And here's what I want to say. Typically, organizing is not an emergency, but I can't say for sure that you won't be called to help in an urgent scenario over the course of your quarantine, of course, depending on how strong the level is. I don't have an official position on this exact question because of the many unknown factors, but I can certainly understand that you would consider it for a number of reasons. However, everyone is ultimately going to need to weigh their personal ethics and the evaluation of the risk in your specific area and in your specific circumstances. Both you and the client need to be totally accepting of that risk, and that includes the fact that the virus can go undetected for weeks before symptoms even show. So really, even if you and your client are both good with it, you both have to recognize that you may not 100% be able to say for sure that you don't have it or that someone in your family doesn't have it. So as you're thinking about you and your client both being accepting of that risk, that's going to remain true even as people start to return to work in your area. Because with what I'm reading and seeing, there are still going to be cases that are popping up even as the quarantine begins to be lifted. So what I do believe and what the message that I want to share today is that temporary distancing, whether it ends up lasting weeks or months, is eventually going to give way to the absolute need for human contact and the desire to restore routine, order, and sanity. So as professional organizers, you have a longer term opportunity to be a leader in these areas by reassuring people that they're not alone and continuing to be a beacon for organization, simplicity, and calmness in the best way that you can. Now, I know people have bills to pay right now too, though, right? So as far as paying the bills in the short term, here's what I want to say. This is the time right now to get comfortable doing video conferencing with clients that want to continue to make progress on your work together. So we're talking that can be Zoom video, Skype, FaceTime, whatever works. Maybe, for example, staying home for a quarantine means it's the very first time in a while that your client has even had to get a large chunk of organizing done at their home. In most non-urgent scenarios where the client is motivated and physically able to do this, even though they would love for you to come to their house one-on-one, it still would probably be a dream come true for you to replace some of those in-person sessions with phone calls, extra homework that you can assign to them, or any other way that you come up with that you can help them break down those big tasks and help them make decisions. So if they can't get the work done on their own, reassure them that you will pick back up with their package when the time is right, and maybe offer a few phone calls just to talk about how their needs may be changing over time and just to stay in touch with them. I think that personal touch is going to make a big difference right now. If new clients are calling you right now, do virtual consultations. And what I mean by that is you set up a time where you guys can do Skype together and they can walk you through their house and show you video, or they can just send you some pictures and you guys can talk on the phone. Don't make it doesn't have to be super complicated. And the most important part about the virtual consultation is not so much that you see every nook and cranny of their house, but that you guys have face-to-face contact and that they get to know you. And also, if I were you, give them the space, like mentally, emotionally, and time-wise, hopefully, to just sort of process whatever it is that's happening to them, the reason why they called you, and just let them talk a little bit. So from there, you can make a plan for either continuing to do those virtual organizing calls or coaching, or reassure them reassure them that it is not an emergency, and, kind of give them some resources to get started on their own and a projected date that you hope that you guys could get started together. Perhaps maybe you want to base that on what your local authorities have said for school districts. And I can only hope, of course, that in most areas of the country that will not be too far in the future. Above all, I really hope and pray that you'll focus on your own self-care as we all go through this together. I know that the temptation to drop everything to help somebody, whether that's a potential paying client or just a family member or a friend that's in need, can be so strong that it can be almost irresistible. But we do that sometimes at the risk of burning ourselves out and putting our needs second or last, or in this case, potentially putting ourselves and our families at risk. So the other best thing that you can do right now, if you are deciding not to work with clients right now, is to stay productive on your business. Think about the long term. There will be people who need you to help put their lives back together when it's safe to do so. Professional organizers are attracted to this industry because we care, I know, and ultimately clients hire you to help guide and support them through change. The coronavirus will certainly bring change on many levels as we all eventually figure out what going back to normal looks like. Stay tuned for special updates on this topic as necessary from the Pro Organizer Studio podcast. And if you haven't yet, be sure to join our Podcast Insiders group on Facebook. There's a link below this episode, and we can continue the discussion there. Talk to you soon.